Hi class, let's get started. Hi class, welcome to FSM 210. This is our first chapter. I hope you enjoy it. This chapter serves as an intro to what we're going to learn throughout our very short condensed semester here. So let's get started. So why do we choose the foods that we do? What do you think? Think about some of the foods you have eaten recently and why you chose them. You know, what you ate for breakfast or lunch or dinner. There are so many things that go into food choices. And depending on the day, the person, the time, even the place, they could vary from one day to another, from one meal to another. Some of the things that go into what we choose the foods we do are shown here in this picture. There may be routines, lifestyle, marketing, advertisements, cost, customs, perhaps you grew up eating a certain food, religion, education, availability of food, perhaps you're trying to buy fresh or local foods, or perhaps you're going to a grocery store where everything is available, psychological needs, the flavor, the texture, the appearance. These are just many of the things that we do to choose the foods that we want. And I think that this is important to discuss, but food choice is something that you should think about when you eat. Do you know, why am I eating this? Why did I choose this? It will help you become more aware of just your day-to-day nutrition and habits. So why do we choose the foods that we do? Some of the main things are habits, availability, and convenience. I know you are all in college, and convenience is probably a big factor. I have a young son, so convenience is, again, a big factor. But no matter what our food choices are, most people tend to choose foods from a similar group or a limited group. So most people have kind of core foods that they eat on a regular basis. In the United States, the most popular consumed foods are milk, ready-to-eat cereal, bottled water, soft drinks, and bread. People consume 30 gallons a year of milk, 25 gallons a year of bottled water, 50 gallons a year of soft drinks, and bread on almost a daily basis. So how does advertising influence us? Advertising has the potential to influence some more than others. Here you see a child, and you can also see this diagram that has these triangles here. Children and teens are very, very marketed to and are actually very susceptible to being influenced by ads and then going out and influencing what their parents buy, which restaurant their parents take them to, or what their parents cook, as well as what they will eat. So advertising is a significant influencer of our food choice. Eating out. You know, when you eat out, you have a variety of food choice. You can eat at fast food restaurants, casual dining, fancy restaurants, formal restaurants. However, there are some trends that seem to continue no matter which restaurant you go to. Many foods that people eat out are high in fat, sodium. We expect large portion sizes, and many of the foods are high in meats, fried foods, cheese, and soda as the number one beverage. So one thing good that is going to happen for the restaurant industry, good for the consumer, is actually labeling of calories in foods at restaurants. And this has to be done for restaurants that have over 20 chains. So this will allow us to have more information about what we're eating when we eat out. Again, exploring some of the factors for food choice, time and convenience. How long will it take me to cook this food, to go buy this food, to chop this food, to prepare this food? Do I microwave it? Do I have to bake it in the oven? These are always things that people consider. Unfortunately, most people have the perception that cooking healthy takes too long. And I don't think that this is true. However, there are skills you can gain by practicing cooking and experimenting with recipes using different cooking methods such as crock pots, which really don't take much work at all and can help kind of alleviate this misconception. Because of this, thought that cooking food takes too long, we often choose more convenient foods such as microwave meals, frozen meals, or fast food restaurants where there's little to no cook time and or work and or dishes involved. Money. So taste and money are the number one and number two reason for food choice. And depending on where you are at socioeconomically, what your status is, money might be the number one reason for your food choice. Obviously, if you feel that you can't afford certain foods, you're not going to have those as options to eat. But when money isn't an issue, taste is the number one factor leading to food choice. There are certain foods that cost more than others. Generally, meats, cheese, and some packaged foods like chocolates can cost more. Certain beverages can cost more. I'm sure you guys are aware of this as you have all been shopping for yourself and you guys are all adult consumers. What about nutrition? Does anybody choose foods to eat because they're actually good for them? Well, how can we measure this? We do kind of measure an estimate on this based on label reading, and we do find that more women read labels than men, and label reading is associated with a lower BMI. In addition, well-educated, middle class, or people with active lifestyles are more likely to read labels. So there are some people thinking about good old nutrition when they choose what to eat. Hunger. This definitely helps determine what we eat, appetite and satiety. So hunger is the drive to find and eat food, and this is regulated by internal cues to eating. There are many hormones that affect hunger, many signals that affect hunger. Appetite is the physiological influence that encourage us to find and eat food. And appetite can happen even without hunger. So you can crave a food or have an appetite for it even without actually being physically hungry. Appetite can be stimulated by external factors such as time of day, who you're with, where you're at, your mood, etc. Satiety is a feeling of satisfaction that temporarily halts our desire to continue eating. Okay, so think of what you had for your last meal and what your motivations were for eating it. I like to have transparency with this class, and I don't try to pretend that my diet is perfect. I think it's, for the most part, pretty good, but there are some meals that are better than others, so I will share with you what I ate. I ate some pot stickers that were not cooked in a frying pan, so there was no added oil. They were chicken and vegetable, and there was corn that I added to them, as well as green beans. And I ate them because they were left over in my fridge, so they were convenient. They were not very expensive, they tasted well, and I was happy with the vegetables I added, and that made me feel at least decently healthy. So there you have it. What exactly is nutrition? So nutrition is a science, and this is really key. I think a lot of people go into nutrition not realizing how much of a science it is, but nutrition involves biological sciences, chemical sciences, social sciences, math. Many of the actual hard sciences go into nutrition. And nutrition is a young science. It's also an evolving science. So what we're learning about nutrition changes on a daily basis, changes on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and yearly. So being on top of nutrition research is really key to having what's the most current nutrition information out there. Why do we want to study nutrition? It's important to study nutrition to help maintain health and prevent chronic disease. In this table here, you can see different chronic diseases and different causes of death and percentage of those that take American lives every year. So the number one is heart disease. The number two is cancer. Then you have respiratory disease, stroke, accidents, Alzheimer's, diabetes, pneumonia, and kidney disease. And you might be able to see small little stars on these slides. And what the stars mean is there is a nutrition component to these diseases, meaning optimal nutrition may help reduce the prevalence of them, slow the progress of them, or potentially even treat them. So both the 1 and 2 killers of Americans in the United States can be influenced by good nutrition. So it's very, very important that we consider these things when we make our food choices. Food and nutrients. So food contains nutrients, and some nutrients are essential. Throughout the semester, we are going to learn about all of the nutrients. Nutrients are important for all of our body processes, and there are some nutrients that our body can make. There are other nutrients that our body cannot make, and we have to get from our diet. Classes of nutrients. So we have 6 nutrients. They are carbs, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and water. And here you see I have a picture of our body. Our body is mainly made up of water. It's about 61%, depending on your muscle level, what gender you are. Protein is the next highest component in our body, followed closely by lipids or fats. Which of these produce energy? So carbs, fats, and proteins all produce energy, and energy is calories. It's what we can use to do work or process metabolic functions. Carbohydrates. This is our first group of nutrients, and again, this is an energy-yielding nutrients. We're going to have an entire chapter on carbohydrates, but carbs may exist in many different forms, starting at simple sugars, which would just be 1 or 2 sugars, and expanding to many, many sugars that can form straight or branched structures and play different roles in our body. Carbs have 4 calories per gram and are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And I don't think carbs are all that bad. They do get a pretty bad reputation, but I think they can be included and should be included for a healthy diet. Lipids. Another word for lipids is fats, and lipids produce 9 calories per gram. They're the most caloric of all of our nutrient-containing foods. The main form of fat in food, the key energy source, and fat storage in our body is something called a triglyceride. And we're going to see this coming up. A triglyceride is made out of 3 fatty acids and a glycerol molecule. So in that blank space, it should say triglyceride. And fats have different properties depending on their chemical makeup. You may have heard of saturated or unsaturated fats. These actually refer to the number of carbon bonds, carbon singular and carbon double bonds. And then there are essential fatty acids and trans fatty acids. Protein. We saw in that last slide that protein was the second most largest nutrient in our body next to water. Protein we use for our cells, our blood, our muscle, our bones, immune factors, just so many things. And protein does provide energy, the same amount of carbs, 4 calories per gram. However, our bodies would rather use protein to make new substances, to make new cells, new bones, new muscle, etc., versus actually an energy source. In the US, we tend to eat way too much protein. We eat close to twice as much as our body actually needs. Vitamins. So vitamins are crucial to life. However, they do not provide us any calories, meaning we cannot get any energy from them. There are 13 total vitamins, and there are 4 fat-soluble vitamins. There is vitamin C, and then there are 8 B vitamins. Vitamin C is considered a water-soluble vitamin, and the B vitamins are also water-soluble vitamins. Minerals. Minerals are another nutrient that we cannot get energy from, however, are essential for daily life. Minerals are not destroyed in cooking, and they're considered inorganic. Sometimes minerals are referred to as ash because it would be what's left over after you burn something. I know that's a little bit morbid, but it might help you remember. Minerals are very important to our body. Our skeleton is made up of minerals. Minerals serve as electrolytes. Minerals serve as parts of enzymes to allow reactions to happen. And some of the minerals are sodium, chloride, and potassium, which is abbreviated with K. There are other minerals: iron, zinc, copper, selenium, magnesium, so many. Minerals are classified by how many you need, either a lot or a little, which is major or trace. And major minerals are needed in gram amounts. Trace minerals are needed in amounts less than 100 milligrams per day. Water. Water acts as a lubricant for the body and transports nutrients, helps with temperature regulation. Just think of when you sweat, and helps with chemical processes. Water is vital for life, but just like vitamins and minerals, does not give us any calories. Where do we get water? We get water from foods and beverages we eat, as well as water is a byproduct of metabolism and metabolic reactions. Wait a minute, this isn't a math class. So in the beginning, I said that you will actually need math for this class. And math will help you a lot understanding nutrition and understanding this energy that I've referred to. We measure the energy from foods in something called a calorie. And we use the term calorie because, we use the term calorie with a capital C, or abbreviated kcal, to actually represent 1,000 calories with a little c. I know that might sound a little bit confusing, but the reason we do that is because there are so many calories with a small c in food that there would be too many to talk about. So instead, we talk about them in units of 1,000 or kilocalories. One singular calorie with a small c, C-A-L-O-R-I-E, is the amount of heat energy it takes to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water 1 degrees Celsius. So there are actually chambers where they can burn food and measure the amount of heat put off and measure how that heat can heat water. And that's how they determine calories. A kilocalorie, or a kcal, or a calorie with a big C, is the amount of heat energy it takes to raise the temperature of 1,000 grams, 1 liter of water, 1 degrees Celsius. So when we see food labels, they're using kilocalories. Kilocalories in a sandwich. These are just some examples of how you would look at different foods and calculate the calories from them. You would have to find out how much carb, fat, protein, and alcohol are in each one, and then multiply by how many calories per gram that food component has. Alcohol is something we have not talked about yet, but alcohol has 7 calories per gram. It's relatively calorically dense. The metric system. These are some figures here for your reference. Some that I use very frequently in nutrition are converting pounds to kilograms, as well as inches to centimeters. How do we know what we know about nutrition? So nutrition is a science, and all sound sciences use the scientific method. The scientific method is a very specific set of steps used to test hypotheses or questions and develop answers or research. So the first step would be making an observation and asking questions. You might make the observation that Americans are gaining weight and becoming bigger. Their BMIs are increasing. You could generate a hypothesis or a guess as to why this happens. Maybe you want to guess that it's because we don't do as much exercise or we're more sedentary. The next step would be to conduct research to test this. Perhaps you could compare people who were more active with people who are less active and see if there was a difference in weight. You could have the results of your study reviewed by other scientists and professionals to make sure your research methods were sound and your results are accurate. Next, you could perform follow-up experiments, and finally, you could publish your results and say yes or no, you accept or deny your hypothesis. I think in the case of this example, we do accept that obesity is partly due, at least, to inactivity. Research terms. So there are many types of studies that can be conducted. The first is what's called a double-blind study. And in this study, neither the experimenter or subject know what they are getting, meaning what treatment they are getting. In a double-blind study, one group would get the experimental treatment in question, for example, perhaps a calcium supplement, and the other group would get what's called a placebo. A placebo is a fake treatment or a fake medication. So the second group might get a medication that looks just like the calcium supplement, but there wouldn't be any calcium in it. It might just be a flour pill or something like that, or a sugar pill. A control group is the group that does not get the treatment under question, and a control group might be the group getting the placebo. In some instances, the control group wouldn't get any treatment. A case control study is where individuals who have a disease or condition are compared with individuals who do not have that disease or condition. For instance, you could compare individuals who have cancer with individuals who do not and see if there were any differences in their dietary intake. This is just an example of a potential hypothesis and how you would go about testing that. So does a high-fat diet cause weight loss? And you could test this using the scientific method. Types of studies. You can read about these further in your book, but there are many types of studies, and some of them have more strength than others. There are case control studies, observations, epidemiological studies, human studies, and laboratory studies. The current state of nutrition and health. So I'll put this link on your Canvas so you can see it there. I really recommend you watch it. This is a link that actually goes year by year of the United States and looks at obesity trends. And the obesity trends have been increasing really just exponentially. So it's quite shocking and very short. So do watch this. Diabetes trends. The darkest states represent highest levels of diabetes. This is not very recent data. However, this is some of the most recent data out there. So although it seems old, they have not published super recent studies in this form yet. With obesity increases, diabetes also increases. Looking at our current diet. So when you look at percentages of different macronutrients we consume, we're actually doing pretty good. However, the types of food we consume from each food group are not very good. The proteins and fats we consume are mostly animal proteins with saturated fats and cholesterol, and the carbs we consume are mostly processed carbohydrates, white breads, white flours, white rice, candies, cookies, soda, etc. They're not the nutrient-rich foods that would be more ideal for our diet. How can we fix this? These are just a few ideas to fix it, but shopping locally, buying fresh, buying what's in season, buying colors of food, all the different colors that are out there. Healthy People 2020. So Healthy People 2020 is a set of guidelines that our government puts forth for us. And it's created by the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Every 10 years, they issue different guidelines. And these are some of them that promote health and have the goal to expand healthy lifespan. What happens if you do choose a healthy lifestyle and start making some good nutrition choices or good nutrition changes? These are some of the things that you might expect. So you might have a longer life, a better quality of life, less hospitalizations, less illness, less medications. Type 2 diabetes is a great example of this. Also high blood pressure. Many people are able to reduce or eliminate their medications when following a healthy diet. So there's a lot of reason to focus on healthy nutrition. Also, preventing gaining weight is a lot easier than losing weight later on. Nutrition for the college student. So it's very common for college students to experience, I could just say, suboptimal nutrition, whether it's weight gain or eating disorders, limited food choice, even food insecurity. So I hope that if you are struggling with any of these things, you reach out to me, you reach out to the help center, the health center, you read more about these in your book, and let me know, because there are a lot of resources out there that can help. All right, that concludes our first chapter. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. I'm sorry if it was a little bumpy. I'm getting used to this format. Hopefully next one will be better, and hope you liked it. Thank you. Bye.